Hello and welcome everyone. Today I'm joined with Jason Smith, President of International Fertility Insurance, or IFI. Jason, thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited for us to dive into insurance and how it's related to surrogacy. I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about IFI.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure always to work with you all. And I've been doing insurance since 2008. I've been doing surrogacy specific insurance since 2014. We have a team of, we just made our latest hire, making it 29 people. And we help about 200 different intended parents each month and work with more than 200 surrogate agencies, attorneys, and clinics around the globe. So that's a little about me. Yeah.
That's awesome. With insurance is an essential element to every surrogacy journey. Intended parents should be informed in this topic area. If we could talk about what IFI can offer intended parents when they match with a surrogate in two different scenarios when a surrogate has insurance and if she also doesn't. To start, what can IFI offer intended parent match with a surrogate who already has medical insurance? Do all insurance policies cover surrogacy? And how do you verify if insurance will cover surrogacy or not?
Sure. Lot to digest there. So let's get
Lots.
started and bear with me as I
Yeah,
go
yeah,
through it
yeah,
all.
for sure.
But we actually have a service that we work, on behalf of those that ask us to review surrogates' health insurance. And usually it's about a 125-page booklet from, an employer, or sometimes it's a personal health plan. And we're digging through it, trying to determine if it covers surrogacy or not. A couple things. We're trying to see if it covers surrogacy or not. So is there an exclusion specific to surrogacy? And the other thing we're looking for is there a lien or not? And a lien is a tricky way of insurance companies saying that they cover surrogacy, but not actually doing it in a good way. So they'll add whatever the surrogate's being compensated as something that needs to be paid back to them if they're going to cover the case. So, as we all know, it can be expensive um, to pay a surrogate, and just to add that as like an extra deductible to your health insurance would be a terrible situation. So we're looking through, looking for keywords, trying to, and the language can be really confusing. Sometimes it doesn't include anything about surrogacy, and we have to dig deeper, sometimes with phone calls and so forth. So we're digging through them. We do more than 150 a month of these, so it's a big part of what we do. We have a team of folks that do it, and we have a legal team behind it as needed to dig through these based on history. So we do that, and then I think the first scenario is, what if her insurance does not cover surrogacy? Is that what we want to do?
Um,
Does cover surrogacy, I think.
it does. It does cover.
So let's start out with a scenario where we review it and we turn out that it does cover surrogacy. So just as relates to the maternity side of things, the pregnancy, the delivery, the postpartum, what we're doing there is we would usually suggest what's called a backup maternity plan. And this is a plan that is the current version we use, at least, is produced by a 300-year plus old insurance company. So it's a very strong, reputable firm. And we are putting this in place just in case something changes during the pregnancy. For any of us from the United States, you would know that your insurance typically runs for a year, and then it's renewed or not renewed. And an insurance company can choose to stop offering a plan. An employer that's offering her the plan can stop use of that plan and maybe switch to a different plan that's maybe more cost effective for their company. So what we're trying to do is get something in place so that no matter what the circumstance, that there's always going to be insurance to cover the pregnancy. So that's done through the backup plan there.
Perfect. What about if a surrogate comes in who does not have insurance at all?
So if she doesn't have insurance at all, I guess I would say it's it's similar to what if she has insurance and it doesn't cover surrogacy, or has a lien and you're unable to use it. We have a couple different ways that we can help. One is only available part of the year, and that's what's called the ACA, or Affordable Care Act, or open enrollment, or so forth. But this is normal U.S. health insurance that we're uh, searching through plans to look for a plan that is, again, surrogacy friendly and doesn't have that lien that I mentioned. But going a step further, that also that it covers the doctor and the hospital that you're hoping to use. Um, in the United States, you have these networks basically where just having insurance isn't enough in this case. You need to have insurance that covers surrogacy, but also that is a fit with the doctor and hospital that you're hoping to use. Some insurance companies have really broad networks, some have more limited regional networks. So we're looking for that. And that's only available during a period of time that's called open enrollment. And that typically runs from the start of November through the end of January. And usually it's not an exact science, it's different by state, but essentially November and December lead to January 1st start dates, and the second half of December and January lead to a February 1st start date. And all of those policies end December 31st. And so they may or may not renew after that point. And again, that's another reason for that backup plan, just in case you don't deliver by December 31st, in case that plan is not still there. Then there's the rest of the year, because that's only 3 months of the year and we have 12 months to work with. So we also offer private insurance, I guess you could say, which is just an insurance plan that's been created, and again, backed by a 300-plus-year-old company, so a real strong insurance company behind it that provides insurance all year round. And it's essentially a managed process where we're actually connecting with each doctor and hospital, building out a specific expectation of what we think the an uncomplicated pregnancy would run. And then we're putting insurance, we're gathering enough money to pay for those things, but we're also putting in to get behind it an insurance plan in case things go wrong and there's, a several $100,000 bill, for example. So yeah. One of these two methods can ideally get us some sort of coverage, and sometimes they can even be combined. You could start on the second plan that I just mentioned. Let's say you wanted to start in April or May or June. You could start on that, and then if you cross over into that next year, we could start to look for one of those ACA plans. Bottom line is we want to try to look for whichever the most affordable scenario that helps meet your needs.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for the detailed answers. You mentioned ACA, Affordable Care Act. What, with it coming right around the corner, it feels, what is something that intended parents should be mindful of when thinking about that?
Well, there's a couple things. Timing for one. It's not available year round. So a lot of listeners today may be from other countries and are used to just their insurance covering everything, and that's that. It doesn't work that way. Like I mentioned, there's this limited window. The other thing is during that process, we'll take more than 1,000 requests in and need to finish them all in a short time frame. We do it in order of timing. It's not necessarily the order in line that you are. It's trying to meet each deadline. So we'll have one state, Idaho, that has its own deadlines, and then we'll go from that into the ones that need to be completed by December 15th, then December 31st, then January 15th, then January 31st. So we have a process there to make sure that all of the requests get fulfilled. So the bottom line is just having patience and awareness that there's a process to it. We do have a communication specialist that's available to sort of field questions throughout. So if you ever have questions about it, and my request was a month ago, why haven't I heard yet? They would remind you about the order and so forth. So just being mindful of the order. The other thing is the importance of those networks. There's sort of, you see information in the news or on Facebook or what have you, where what happened for one doesn't necessarily equal what will happen for everyone. And maybe one set of intended parents had a wonderful experience. It was easy to get an ACA plan and they had no problem. Another, one of these listeners perhaps might have a challenge where their doctor, only takes certain plans, and maybe those plans are not surrogacy friendly. So being prepared that it's not a guarantee that it's going to happen, but it's okay that there are other plans out there that can work, and just being aware that that even if your surrogate doesn't have a plan that can fit, it doesn't make her a bad surrogate, or it's very, very common that plans don't cover surrogacy. It's not a very healthy financial situation for the insurance companies. So just being patient there, knowing that everyone is doing their best job to find you the most affordable plan and the most in a timely manner.
Exactly. I would even say meeting with IFI as quickly as possible to get all the information, to give
Yeah,
options.
yeah, and we do webinars every month on the topic for specifically for intended parents, and we have a team, and we've actually doubled the team this year of folks that are available to do intended parent consults to help guide you through the process, to help guide you through plan selection and so forth.
Great. Now, I think you kind of touched on this when we talked about surrogates who didn't have insurance policies, but could you share a little bit more about short-term policies, when intended parents can put those into place when it's mostly used?
Sure, sure. So there's a couple different types of short-term policies. There's one that again I want to reference, like you hear these things from your colleagues that are going through the same surrogacy process, and what happened for them may not actually be possible for you. And one of those is something called short-term medical or short-term health. And historically, this was something that was used because you could actually get plans that would last up to 364 days. Um, they were not true major medical insurance, but they could sort of somewhat fit a need when you just needed it for a short time. Those just recently, just days before shooting this, in fact, those have now only available for a 3 month period, and you can't get them if your surrogate has even started medication. So they really are not viable. So if by chance you hear of someone that used those, they're really not a good solution any longer. The other one is what we at IFI call the IFI Surrogacy Maternity Plan, and it's our kind of proprietary version of a plan that's been around for a very long time, but it's a cost conscious approach where we're trying to negotiate special terms for you, and then we gather enough money to manage as if there was to be a full pregnancy on the plan. But in a lot of times we'll only need a handful of months, and then we can find an ACA policy. So the bottom line is, your agency as well as us are just trying to find the most affordable way to do this for you. There's no best solution. It's just
Yeah.
which of the puzzle pieces is going to fit best together to meet your specific needs.
Exactly. And with that, I know IFI offers many, many different policies. Can you share with us a few policies outside of medical insurance?
Sure, sure. So there's a lot to digest here. I'll keep it as brief and basic as I can, and just know that we are available to help if you have deeper questions. This is just meant to be sort of a basic introduction.
Yeah.
So and not everything's for everyone, right? But there are all of these are intended to reduce the financial risk for intended parents. Um, so for starters, sort of kind of start to finish of timing, I guess, we have surrogate IVF complications insurance, and if it's applicable to your situation, we have donor insurance as well. Both of these are covering complications of IVF. So it's a very odd gap that there are plans that will cover a surrogate pregnancy, but there are almost no plans that will cover the IVF process and the potential complications of it. And with all of these things that we're going to talk about, the complications are rare, but similar to like home insurance, we buy it because of the very, very small risk that things will go wrong and our house will catch on fire. Similarly, all these things, I hope that I'm not scaring anybody, but rather just saying, just in case they happen, there's insurance for it. So IVF complications, I'm sure you'll have a great doctor, a great clinic, and they'll do a great job for you. But just in case things go wrong, and they do sometimes, there's insurance to cover if your surrogate or donor goes to the emergency room or is hospitalized with complications. And there's a whole variety of different complications based on both of those two categories, but anything that directs them to the emergency room or hospital related to the IVF, there's insurance for that. Next up would be the surrogate life insurance. So it's a very unfortunate situation, but maybe, I won't even talk about the numbers. It's a very, 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 very small part of the population of surrogates that that would pass away because of complications. And despite the fact that it's rare, it's probably, of all the things I'm talking about, aside from maybe the maternity coverage, it's probably the most like, it's not a law, but it's like almost a law that every single contract I've ever seen includes life insurance for the surrogate. And it can be differing in amounts, but the bottom line is that you're putting protection in place for her family. She's doing this wonderful thing for you. And if a horrible situation where she were to pass away, that her family can carry on at least financially. Similarly, there's a handful of add-on coverages that are really for you, the intended parent. So there's coverage that if she were to pass away, that you can have a financial recovery, and while you would be terribly sad, that at least financially you'd be able to recover what you had spent on surrogacy and egg donation. Similarly, we have a coverage for stillbirth. If you were to lose the baby, the fetus, between weeks 20 and the birth, we can again have that financial recovery. We have loss of reproductive organs, which is a coverage that is there in case something goes wrong and the surrogate were to need a partial or full hysterectomy, lose a fallopian tube, lose an ovary. We also have permanent disability. Extremely rare that things go wrong, but when they do, if there was to be a permanent injury, this would be a lump sum that would be provided to the surrogate to, again, be there for her and her family for the challenges that lie ahead while she was doing this great thing for you. And so that kind of covers the life insurance aspect of it. The good news is that this is the space that we live in, this world of surrogacy and egg donation insurance, and we've got a extremely easy policy to get. It's much different than a life insurance that you or I would get. It's built for surrogacy. Similarly, we have a disability policy that's built for surrogacy that's really to cover the risk of a surrogate either being hospitalized or more likely going on bed rest based on a pregnancy complication. In most contracts, you'll find that the intended parents, or sometimes it's an agency covering it, but either way, when I say agency, like on behalf of the intended parents, covering lost wages, childcare, and housekeeping. And these are things like, again, surrogate goes on bed rest, she no longer has her wages coming in, or even if she was a stay-at-home mother, she might still need childcare, housekeeping. We have insurance that can cover that. And again, a super easy process. This is built for surrogacy. Lastly, the other thing to be thinking about is newborn coverage or insurance. I would say coverage, if you're from the United States, you'll want to confirm that your own insurance covers you having a baby in the location that you're expecting. And this is really relevant if you're in one state and you're planning to have a baby in another state. Similarly, if you're from another country entirely, you certainly don't have coverage, or in all likelihood don't have coverage that would cover the baby. And you're putting in place insurance to cover the pregnancy, but now we're talking about the newborn that's been born, and it's an entirely different set of medical bills now. And so there's newborn insurance to cover that. And we have a team both on the maternity side as well as the newborn side to manage and reduce medical bills. So we can help. Again, we're all in the intention of trying to make this as affordable as possible for you.
Absolutely. Okay, it sounds like you guys offer I know you offer many policies and it's great insurance coverage options for, the parents and the surrogates in their journey. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers on insurance that you think that they may need to know, or where they can get information?
Yeah, great. So again, it sounds like a lot as we talk about it, but this is the world that we live in. We're experts at it. just like Danielle and her team are experts at managing the agency process of it, and I couldn't begin to think of how to do that. And so it's a lot to digest, but we're here to help. We offer consultations to support you. We have a lot of great resources on our website, including videos and so forth. To, if all of this breezed by you real quickly, we have a video of me talking about each one of these topics. So you can find all of that at our website, which is www.goifi.com. IFI is for International Fertility Insurance. So at that, there's an abundance of resources, and you can, through the website or more likely through the agency, you can schedule a consultation and we can help guide you deeper through all these topics.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jason, for joining me today, sharing all
Anytime.
this valuable information. If anybody who is watching this still has questions, if you're in a journey, please reach out to your case coordinator, reach out to Family Source, or go ahead and reach directly out to IFI on their website. We are here to help you and guide you through all your questions. Thank you again.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jason.